They said it was the greatest Royal Rumble. Well, guess what? The jury's out on that one. You be the judge.
No, Eddie, that's for somebody else. We're just going to keep you right where you're at right now.
It doesn't matter what you think.
The Wrestling Realm presents Break It Down with Brian H.
Welcome, everyone, to this special edition of Break It Down with Brian H. You know, it's Friday night, and we just saw the greatest Royal Rumble. Hopefully you've seen it. If not, go to your WWE network. A lot of people have mixed emotions about it. You know, I figured, guess what? Wife isn't home yet from work. She's hanging out with some buddies. Kids are asleep. Well, one's asleep. One's watching the greatest Royal Rumble because he was in school. I saw most of it during lunchtime at work. So you know what I said? Guess what? Why not do a show? I want to talk about it. Some of my friends seen it already. Some of them haven't. But guess what? I appreciate you sitting down, listening. So let's get right into it. Show began John Cena versus Triple H. Now I have to say that if you listen to the last show and you listen to the predictions, this is probably the best pay-per-view I've had numbers-wise. I only got one match wrong. Actually, you know what? I got 3 matches wrong. But I mean, it was 10 matches, 7-3. Actually, 7-1-1. Well, 7-2-1. I'll take that. But nonetheless, John Cena and Triple H. This was very fun. What we saw was 2 veterans going out there. I love the fact that they started the show. They opened the show. It got the crowd right into it. Give the crowd over in Saudi Arabia a familiar face, but also some legends. And that let those guys go out there and be able to tell a story. You know, it's been years since they last wrestled. And what we saw was John Cena and Triple H just kind of, you know, it was a respectful wrestling match. Who's better, the game or John Cena? And John Cena came out victorious, as I said he would. But what I liked was that, you know, afterwards he got, you know, he spoke to the crowd, just forever grateful. So, you know, Cena beat Triple H, match about 15 minutes. It's actually the second longest match on the card. Then we went to the Cruiserweight Championship where Cedric Alexander defeated Kalisto. Now, I will say I didn't see most of the match. Well, maybe not most is fair, but I saw a good majority of it in between tasks. But I really enjoyed it just because of the fact that you had these 2 cruiserweights. Clearly, the cruiserweight division is going on the upward. And one of the things that was pointed out, Cedric hasn't lost a match. I believe it was December or January, but I'm almost certain it was December. So seeing him getting that ultimate payoff at WrestleMania 34 and now continuing is something that we wanted to see. We wanted to see that when he missed out on his opportunity because of Enzo, and it felt like he just kept getting the setbacks, and now he's got the belt or the title, and it just seems that he's going in the right direction and that he's set to have a successful run. Then we move on to the tag team match for the vacant Raw Tag Team Championship, where Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy defeated Sheamus and Cesaro. Now, this match right here was very interesting. One of the things, you know, with Matt Hardy that we're getting now that we didn't before is the character of wokenness. And, you know, it was a spot where he was saying, delete, and Cesaro was saying the bar, delete the bar. And I thought that was really good. It just made sense for the 2 of them in this match. And they ended up pulling off the victory. But how about another thing I liked about it was when Sheamus was getting ready to set up for the bro kick and Bray Wyatt did his creepy spider thing where he's on all 4s backwards. So I was like, uh-oh, somebody's in trouble. So I thought that was interesting. It goes to show you, you know, that these 2, I love the story they told here. And one of the things I noticed about this match, what you had was where both teams were 2 enemies who became friends. You remember Sheamus and Cesaro couldn't get along and it was forced to team up. And they became one of the best tag teams in the past 5 years. Then we have Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt, 2 teams, 2 guys who were, you know, going at each other, and then we saw Matt Hardy kind of had to go delete Bray Wyatt and bring him back. So I thought that was an interesting dynamic to have the Raw Tag Team titles, now in the hands of Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy. Then we move on to the United States Championship match, where Jeff Hardy defeated Jinder Mahal. And I wanted to see, and maybe I missed it, so if I did, let me know. I know somebody's probably out there saying, well, why didn't you go back and watch it again before you jumped on the show? Because my show, I just wanted to talk wrestling. It's Friday night. Relaxing. Actually got MLW wrestling on the television right now. Shane Strickland taking on Jimmy Havoc. So, but one of the things I did, I watched the match. I really enjoyed the match. It's solid. One of the things is Jinder Mahal is so much better now than he's ever been. The guy looks like $1 million. He looks like somebody that was rightfully so a champion. He was a WWE champion. While he didn't hold the United States title long, as a matter of fact, I think he had like one of the third shortest reigns in the past 7 to 8 years. He still looks like a champion. And people might say, oh, he's on steroids or whatever. But I enjoyed his WWE Championship reign, and I was happy when it came to an end. May have went on a little bit too long, but I really enjoyed his reign as champion because it was something different. Everybody always say, oh, we need something different, and we finally get it, and then people complain. But Jinder Mahal, unable to regain the United States Championship, Jeff Hardy walks away with it. And I got to give a shout-out. I believe it was on View for the Top Rope. Yeah, it was on View for the Top Rope, and they discussed protected finishers. And, I listened to a lot of wrestling podcasts, so if I mixed it up, please forgive me. But they talked about protected finishers. And a protected finisher, I was thinking the Swanton Bomb has kind of been protected because I don't really recall too many people kicking out of it as often. Like, we've seen so many people kick out of the Attitude Adjustment, the Pedigree. But there's some finishers in that they were discussing that it's not often kicked out of, just because, and maybe it's because the guys in the high profile matches not as high profile matches where you don't need to have so many false finishes, but nonetheless, in this case, the Swanton Bomb is one of those protected finishers. All right, so we move on to the Tag Team Championship match. Now, this is where the Bludgeon Brothers defeated the Usos. Now, I'm going to give a quick plug. Make sure you go to my website. I just put out a new article last night where I discussed Thursday night into Friday morning, where I discussed that the Jimmy Uso and Naomi are the most successful company in the WWE right now that's not named McMahon. So, what do I mean when I say that? And I'll get into this match, but I got to explain the article. What I mean is, they're the only couple that's on the roster that's still together that were both at the pinnacle of their careers. Now, Miz was up there, but him and Maurice wasn't really recognized as a couple. I don't even know if they were together or not. But Miz was a tag team champion. But like I said, on screen, they wasn't, a couple. Naomi was a women's champion a year ago. The Usos were tag team champions. We saw both of them. There's pictures of both of them with their belts. So that's what makes them a powerful couple, a successful couple. Let's be real. Do we ever see the Usos breaking up and getting singles gold? Probably not. If you listen to something to wrestle with Bruce Pritchard, you'll hear how he talked about when they wanted to break up the Dudleys and stuff like that. Some tag teams just shouldn't be broken up. So I don't see the Usos ever being broken up. It just doesn't make any sense. So what I see is you have Naomi, who's reached the pinnacle of her career as women's champion 2 times. The Usos reached the pinnacle of their career, and at one point they were both champions. Kind of like McMahon and Helmsley's regime when Steph and Triple H were the women's champion and the WWE champion. And let's be real, Steph really wasn't a wrestler. She kind of won it on a fluke. She didn't even want to wrestle the match. But that's just the, side note. So make sure you check out that article. I promise you, there's some GIFs in there that you'll love. But this match, Naomi couldn't be there because the WWE did not take the women because the country is in a shift. And the WWE, you can't just force your rules of your country and what your country allows. You cannot take that into another country and force that. So there's a reason why the women weren't on there. I saw a lot of people complaining on the Twitter and on Facebook, and I challenge you. And I was talking to my man Glenn Thomas. How many of these people actually watch women's wrestling on a regular basis? Do you watch Rise? Do you watch Shimmer? Do you watch Shine? You complain about there not being any women, but are you watching those women's wrestlers? So people just like to complain. But let's move on to the ladder match. I really, really enjoyed this match. Seth Rollins defeats Finn Balor, Samoa Joe, and The Miz. Now, The Miz tried to have a partnership with Samoa Joe, and he was like, all right, but he's not having it. What I really loved was the finish. We saw Finn Balor look like he was right there. He had the belt in his hand. I know I should be saying the title in his hand. But then Rollins hopped on, kind of like what Shelton Benjamin did. He hopped off the ropes onto the ladder and boom, snuck and grabbed the belt. Just like that. It's over. So what we see, Seth Rollins Intercontinental title reign, this is where he's going to get his swag back. He was a guy that I said was on his way to being the next WWE megastar. But then he got hurt after having I call a successful WWE World Heavyweight Championship reign, as well as getting a United States title in there. But he got hurt, never really gained his swag back, and now you have, but now he seemed to kind of be getting going again. So I'm really excited to see how far he goes. I do think we're set up for him and Finn Balor. Maybe one of them turns heel, and maybe you don't need a heel, but I think we're set up for a good feud between those two, and I think we'll get a set of great matches. So then we saw the WWE Championship match. Guess what? Roll the top rope segment.
Going up to the top rope.
It's time for this week's Top Rope segment of the week.
The top rope presented by Amazon, which you can make sure you go on thebrianhwaters.com. Go to the Amazon link, make your purchases right there, and then go to iTunes and drop me a 5-star review. So, top rope is the finish to AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura. A double countout. It makes sense. So now, let me talk about this for a little bit. You had their first match at WrestleMania, first match in WWE. Remember, the possibility was teased at Money in the Bank. That's what AJ Styles said. He believed Vince McMahon kind of said, all right, maybe I got something with these guys. Then we had a match at WrestleMania, which it was strictly built as a dream matchup between the two. A dream matchup for the casual fans. The fans like my son and my nephews who only watch WWE, not the ones who watch New Japan or anything else. So we have this dream matchup. And then during the match, which I thought was solid, it was hard hitting. It wasn't a whole bunch of spots and false finishes. But then after the match, AJ Styles gets the best of them. They shake hands. And after they shook hands, you think Shinsuke is going to walk away? Nope. Low blow. And now when you hit a man there, it's a whole different ball game. And we got to Greatest Royal Rumble, where AJ Styles was finally able to get his hands on Shinsuke Nakamura. And this match ends in a double countout, and it continues the story. I thought this show was a lot of fun, and I thought this made a lot of sense. Keep the story going. I could see these two feud for a while, because guess what? Shinsuke speaks no English. So there we go with that. And then we had The Undertaker defeating Rusev in a casket match, and maybe putting an end to Rusev Day on Rusev Day. The Undertaker buried Aiden English and Rusev in the casket. Very cool. it's good to see the Undertaker. He's a special attraction, and I do believe that the people of Saudi Arabia deserved it. They deserve to see the Undertaker because he's been a pinnacle and a staple for the WWE universe for almost 30 years. Just think about that. It's been almost 30 years in wrestling, So I thought they deserved that, and it was good to see a casket match. We haven't seen those in about 3 years, so 3 or 4 years. So it was good to see a casket match. Undertaker victorious. Now it's time to tap out.
Here's our tapped out segment of the week.
This show's tapped out segment. The finish between Brock Lesnar when he retained his WWE Universal Championship against Roman Reigns. Now, the match didn't go on too long, 9 minutes, 15 seconds to be exact, according to Wikipedia. But I really didn't like it. So let's look at it from a kayfabe point of view. Roman, you have the ropes and the cage. Why would you spear Brock Lesnar? What are you trying to accomplish? Your momentum carried you to knock him through the cage. Your guys are over 270 pounds. What did you think was going to happen? So, no. Wasn't a fan of that at all. But, and then Roman's feet hit first. Like, I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm like, what's going on? Roman's feet hit first. Like, what in the world? So, Roman, but, this sets up the bright side. Because, most of the time for my tapped outs, I do try to look at the bright side of the situation. So, on the bright side, we shall see Roman and have an argument, which will lead to maybe a rematch with him and Brock. Because I'm pretty sure they're going to do some freeze frames and all that other stuff. So let's see what happens. Can Brock Lesnar and can Roman Reigns get another title shot? We already know he's going to get Samoa Joe at Backlash. I'm not sure if you throw Brock in the mix. I'm not sure if he got to beat Joe. Maybe Brock just isn't scheduled for Backlash. I know I'm ready for Brock to drop the belt, but more than likely he'll hold on to the title because as my boy from chairshot.com said that, Brock he's about 45 days away from from breaking CM. Well, he's about 45 days away from breaking CM Punk's record. So, to break out of kayfabe, I could see the WWE doing something like that. I mean, it would only make sense, right? So. But let's move on to the greatest Royal Rumble, the 50-man Royal Rumble, where we saw Braun Strowman win after he defeated Big Cass. So, just a little, I ain't gonna say a little bit bone to pick, but here's what I thought was funny. And shout out to Greg DeMarco. Sorry, your name has slipped, and I had to chair shot. But so Strowman was the victor. What I liked was that he stayed in there a long time. He was able to go out there and let's see, because I saw this match in pieces. I have to admit. But I saw the important parts, obviously. So he was the 41st entrant. So he's the first person ever to enter a Royal Rumble at number 41 and win. And he eliminated 13 people. Is that, not sure, is that the record? So if you know whether or not that's the record, tweet me at Brian H. Waters. But yeah, so he eliminated 13 people, which was show how strong he is. And there was a couple of times they said, how many, who's going to help us? We need to get him out of here, right? Somebody, let's try to take the big man out. But they couldn't. And I thought maybe this would finally happen. All right, but one thing we noticed is and most of the time, that always happens with the big men. We seen it with Vader. We seen it with Yokozuna in 90, Vader and Yokozuna in 96. Well, they would gang on him, which was so weird because Shawn Michaels eliminated both of them. But we seen that happen with Diesel. We seen it happen with The Undertaker. So, so that is true. I just looked it up. So, Braun Strowman breaks the record for most eliminations, which made sense. Now, I love the fact that they gave him a title and a trophy. I was just thinking, so are they going to bring that trophy to the United States? How are they going to get it on there? Like, that joint was bigger than him, unless they were standing on something. Okay, they were standing on something. But it's still huge. But what I thought was interesting, and maybe I want to know if anybody else think this. So you have Strowman out there. He just threw Shane McMahon through a table, and then Vince is out there presenting him. And I was like, all right, so is Vince going to make note of that? Like, say something like, hey, man, you ain't had to do my son like that. But I understand you made it special. You keep the moment special. But this was overall, it was a great day for the WWE. If you're a fan, why are you complaining? You got wrestling in the afternoon. How often do you get that? So if you was at work, that means maybe you couldn't watch it live. You had something to come home to do. If you wasn't at work, instead of watching, say, a soap opera or something, or some, rerun, you had wrestling. And you had a good show. It was a fun show. It wasn't meant to, I think everybody over there just had a lot of fun. It looked like it was an experience. I know the women were tweeting, and they was talking about the atmosphere. So I thought that was great. So, Braun Strowman. But we got to talk about a couple things about the greatest Royal Rumble match. So, first, we're going to talk about Titus. This guy is definitely going to be on Botchamania. He's going to be a lot of GIFs. He's going to be everywhere. And everybody's going to remember. Look, you ain't going to win the Royal Rumble. You might as well go out and have everybody remember you, right? So, everybody's going to remember Titus O'Neil because he slipped and slid right under the ring almost seamlessly. And it was funny. You saw everybody blow up on Twitter, and I could just imagine what people are saying. I can imagine what happened when he got in the back. I'm pretty sure the boys gave him a rough time about it, but it was all good and fun. So that was interesting. And then the performance of Daniel Bryan. He set another record. And, they should recognize this record because, after all, it was titled Royal Rumble, right? But Daniel Bryan, so the match was 1 hour, 17 minutes, and 20 seconds. Daniel Bryan came in at number 1, and he only eliminated 3 people, which was interesting. But he came in at number 1 and lasted 1 hour, 16 minutes, and 5 seconds. So there was exactly 1 minute and 15 seconds of a match without him in it. He was eliminated by Big Cass. So if you listen, you know that Daniel Bryan was my pick. I was wrong, and I was sitting there like, man, I knew I should have just chose Strowman because I should have known it was going to give it to Bryan. But I just, I thought maybe he had a good opportunity of winning this thing. It's like he waited. It's like he waited waited 3 years before to get this moment. He tried to make up all 3 years in one night. He was the 48th person eliminated. It started off with him and Dolph Ziggler. Ziggler was the 12th person eliminated. He's 21 minutes and 47 seconds. Mike Kanellis, he was the fastest one eliminated at 0.09 seconds. Daniel Bryan, what a performance. If you was worried about him, he's got the battle scars to prove it, that he was out there that long. His chest was red. But clearly this guy is ready to go. He's ready. He's a full-timer because it gets no more full-time than being the number 1 guy in the Royal Rumble and going almost all the way. They're going there bell to bell. Getting eliminated by Big Cass sets up for him to have sets up their feud for Backlash. We also had, like I said, Shane McMahon, some cool stuff. Kevin Owens came out there. And one thing Kevin Owens does, he's going to constantly run his mouth. He was eliminated by Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman, when he got out there, so he came out at, number 41, and he just dominated. The last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The last 10 of 11 people were eliminated by him. Actually, you could say he eliminated the last, 10 out of 11 or 13 out of 15 were eliminated by Braun Strowman. Well, 12 out of 15. So I'm like, wow. So that was a dominant performance. Wait for him to look strong. Braun Strowman definitely has a universal title waiting for him by the end of this year. I would be highly surprised if he's not the Universal Champion. And so, I want to see Chris Jericho. I'd like to see some more of him. Not sure if we will. Same with Rey Mysterio. Don't have to see him all the time, but, it was a good opportunity for a lot of the NXT guys. One of the things Corey Graves talked about was the endurance of Roderick Strong. And if I could be critical, I'll just take one time at being critical. No, me being critical of a WWE product. But I would probably like to see him come in early and kind of show off his endurance a little bit more. Nonetheless, it was great to see Kurt Angle in there. Great to see Shane McMahon in there. The commissioners, a commissioner and the general manager, getting in there and mix it up. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm about to wrap this up. I enjoy this, really enjoyed the show. Really enjoyed the fact that they gave us wrestling. I love wrestling on the afternoon. I really enjoyed when they did the UK stuff. So make sure you tune in next week when I bring you the next episode of Break It Down, Brian H. Make sure you go visit thebrianhwaters.com where you can catch out my latest blogs. Like I said, I wrote about Jimmy Uso and Naomi. There's Wrestler for the Culture on there. There's also, my predictions. You'll see that I was, like I said, 7, 2, and 1 today. So pretty happy about that. Make sure you check out the Wrestling Realm. Everything's right there. What you need, how you need it. We're on Podbean. We're on iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher. So make sure you download the show, subscribe to it, give it 5-star rating. Let me know you gave it 5-star rating. I will definitely give you a shout out. So until the next time, I'm Brian H. Waters. So long, everybody.